start these off with musical sounds of Green Velvet with It's Time for the Percolator. But I didn't know how long the debate was going to carry on for. I loaded up the video and it says that it's like 2 hours long. So I already know, based on like reactions I'm seeing on social media and Reddit, that it's not going to be a fun experience. But yeah, definitely want to. I don't actually want to look at this. I'm doing this for y'all. That's it. I could go my whole life without listening to this debate, and I don't feel like I missed a thing. I feel like I'm actually losing by looking at this. But you know, it's nice to be an informed voter. Ignorance is how we got here, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of like good reasons for me to watch this and then encourage other people to watch this. It's such a fucking struggle. It is. But without further dildo-dallying, let us get started. So let's go to the react, and yeah, let's get this shit started. Oop, I backed. That's the wrong video, Keon. Okay, so as we see here are some chairs. Actually, I'm gonna mute this or lower the volume for a bit, and give a bit of a preamble to the debate. The thing I'm looking for, there's a few things I'm looking for. This presidential debate. First and foremost, I am fully aware that at best maybe 40% of the things that a candidate says they'll achieve, they'll probably be able to achieve. So you don't want to put too much stake in like voting on a candidate for just one issue, because chances are you might not get it. Like if you voted for Donald Trump because you really thought you were going to get a border wall, I mean, I'm sure he's doing other things for you, but nah. And then what's another thing to keep in mind? I'm a libertarian. I'm not like party affiliated libertarian. I'm like more libertarian on virtue. So like I won't just vote for a libertarian just because they got an L next to their name. A lot of libertarians will fucking do that, and it's scary. Like there's this dude that wears a boot on his head, and yeah, he's funny and he's meme worthy, but it's like, for president though, I don't know. Maybe I'd invite him out to a party for sure, but not for president. So I don't know. I can't just vote for people because they are part of the party. With that being said, I did watch the libertarian debates earlier this year, and they weren't all that great either. It was bad, but from the get-go, I could tell that Joe Jorgensen was clearly a cut above the rest of the libertarian candidates, of the candidates that share my ideals. So I'm just going to pop her name out here because, yeah, as other people are telling me, no candidate is perfect, and she definitely isn't, but she's the person I'm going to be supporting this November. Unless she says something or does something radical within that time. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to promote this on Facebook because my goddamn Instagram is still down. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit salty. Give me 1 second. So yeah, going to vote for Joe because she's the shit. Biden wasn't is that Coke? Oh, that's hand sanitizer. Never mind. Biden wasn't really on my radar this year. He was funny, you know, when he and Obama were running in the White House. He was funny and whatnot, and I guess he was kind of a big deal in the Affordable Care Act. So yeah, there's that. But again, not on board with the Affordable Care Act, and my opinion on Obama has changed a lot since I voted for him. But so already out the bat, I'm just like, But on top of that, to be fair, I haven't done my research into him. I don't know what plans he's proposing. It's kind of funny to see. It's kind of hey Janira. It's kind of funny to see how quickly people shift. Because again, once you think you only have two options, you're gonna do anything in your power to justify those two options. So I was kind of like, even though I wasn't a Bernie supporter, I was really happy to see the support for Bernie because despite him being in, Congress for God knows how long, politically speaking, he still seemed like an outsider to me. In the U.S., I don't know how we compare to the rest of the world, but Democrats and Republicans are kind of like off center, maybe on the right, maybe both are on the left. I don't know. It depends on who you ask and what kind of narrative they're pushing. But to me, they're both kind of off center. Democrats are kind of center left, and center left up authoritarian, and Republicans are center right up authoritarian. Whereas Bernie, he was kind of like far left, still pretty much authoritarian. Although I think, yeah, still kind of on the authoritarian side, but more left leaning. So yeah, no, I wouldn't vote for him. But just seeing someone different was refreshing, which is kind of unfortunately probably how we ended up with Donald Trump. Now that I think about it, because a lot of people did tell me that. Anyways, so let's get to this debate. I'm done pre-rambling. And it looks like the debate starts in 22 minutes. So we're just going to skip to that. There goes First Lady Melania Trump. I like her because I don't get to hear about her a lot. Like, it's always weird to me when First Ladies get into the White House and it's like, I'm Vice President now. Like, voted for one of y'all. Like, don't get me wrong. I love me some Michelle Obama. God damn. But, yeah, no. You're not president, homie. Looks like they're still starting. Let's do some skippage. Oh, teleprompter. That's sexy as fuck. How did we not see that? I need a teleprompter. I need someone to write my script for me. Holy shit, the timer disappeared. Yeah, pop that back. Get ready. This is hard as hell, Chris Wallace. You're my idol, JK. Is the sound on? This is some very awkward B-roll footage. There we go. Fuck, so close. So close. Come on.
Good evening from the Health Education Campus of Case Western Reserve.
Oh, friendly reminder, I will be sober during this whole ordeal. Apologies ahead of time.
And I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential
I will not enjoy this.
Between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format.
Fuck those guys real quick. The reason I say fuck those guys is they're a big part of why Joe Jorgensen won't be allowed to speak at this. Even though a lot of Americans are kind of over just having like a shit sandwich and a crap taco to choose through, the commission they constantly shift the goalpost and say, yo, you gotta have this many people. Now you gotta have this many people. It's fucking weird. I think even if it's not Joe Jorgensen, just a third person on that podium, I would appreciate. But anyways, I should have said this all during the preamble. Now I'm thinking, seeing Chris Wallace's face has got my brain going. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that the crowd at this debate is a lot smaller than the ones I'm used to. In previous presidential debates, it's always an eye-rolling moment when the presidential candidate says nothing of substance. They just like spout some rhetoric, and the crowd, everybody's just like, "Oh my God, he said the thing." I'm just like, can y'all stop fucking clapping, please? I hear a lot about Melania on Twitter. The most recent is when she redid the Guardians, and now they're boring as fuck, and will no longer home the trees, bushes, and flowers that have been there for presidents. Yeah, but like doing that isn't gonna, worsen the state of the country. Like, unfortunately, because ever since Trump's been in office, I had to do a lot of filtering. So like, now I'm just like, did he shoot someone? I'm going back to sleep. He's lowered the bar that much for me.
President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court.
May she rest in peace.
The Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make, and your opponent
Republicans
wrong,
stopped
and
Obama from
where do you think
nominating Garland.
Justice Barrett would
So
take the court?
if we're being fair, Republicans
Trump, in the
should
first
recommend
segment, you
Trump
go
hold
first.
off on
2
a
minutes.
Supreme Court candidate, but of course, we're
Tell
not
you very
talking
simply,
about being
we won
fair.
the election. Elections have consequences.
No
We
shit.
have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee.
We have
respected by
people.
all, top academic.
I just realized ever since I've gone through like my news and politics purge, it's actually been months since I've heard this man's voice. Holy shit. We're not doing this at normal speed. We're going to crank this up a notch. 1.25, bitch. I got some sleeping and dying to do. Let us proceed.
Good in every way. In fact, some
Yeah.
of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election.
bit better.
itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to
How will
be
you have time, Donald?
as
You're
good
busy.
as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest
Doesn't add
student
up.
he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If
You
they-
have the
only
right the
difference is
same
they
way
tried to
Obama
enforce
had
it.
the right
There's no way they
to
would give
nominate
up.
Garland after
They had
Scalia
the
died.
right
This
to
is just stiff off the top of my head. I have no notes for this.
They were
Fuck him already.
Probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
Yeah, you do.
Trump, thank you.
Technically.
Question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Jim.
These guys are so fucking old.
Have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted.
Did he just say?
And
Okay,
so
never
the thing
mind.
that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is. Because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now,
I don't agree,
what's at
but
stake
these
here, the
parties
president's
keep
made it clear
changing the
he wants
precedent
to
and the
get rid of
rules
it.
on a whim. So
He's been running on that. He ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I have nothing. I'm not a.
They always use that.
She seems like a very fine person.
like they never talk about the
She's
people who
written
got
before
fucked
she went
over
to
by the
bed, she's
ACA.
right.
They always talk about,
She
but the
thinks
people that
that
helped,
the Affordable
and the
Care
way
Act
it's
is not
helping is
constitutional.
again libertarian,
Well, I
but
think it's on the
whatever.
court, And if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again,
ACA?
could be held pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. We're able. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man gets, and that ended.
Make no mistake, our healthcare system is all kinds of fucked up. Affordable Health Care Act was
those pre-existing conditions.
just a
insurance companies are
Band-Aid.
gonna love this.
But I
And
don't
so
know
it's
if it
just not
actually
appropriate
was a good
to do this
Band-Aid
before
or
this
an
election.
infected
If
Band-Aid.
he
From where I
wins
stand,
the
it looks like an
election, and the
infected
Senate
one,
is a
but
Democrat, a
we'll
Republican,
see.
Then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
Because let me put it like this, in case you think I'm an asshole, just in case.
As far as the say is concerned, the people already have
I'm gonna pause for a second. I can't do that.
say.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna keep it moving.
Okay. Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so.
No, I can't move on for that. Okay, so by him saying that we're moving the Affordable Health Care Act, you're gonna take away coverage for 20 million. That could be a whole lot of things. I'm not gonna unpack it, but it's kind of like a good intention thing that could still have a negative consequence. We're seeing the negative consequences of the current student loan program. You know, if we take away federal student loans, that's going to leave millions of students without an ability to go to college. But it's also going to free a bunch of people from never getting in debt to the federal government, a debt that you can't, bankrupt, so declare bankruptcy on. So people, again, you always got to keep the unintended consequences inside. A lot of people will use hypothetical consequences. A lot of people will reference practical ones. It's whatever one convinces you. Again, politics, people will try to pretend it's a game of intelligence and big braininess, but at the end of the day, it's all emotions. Nobody here is going to say anything that's logically consistent. I haven't even seen the shit, and I can already tell you that. They're just going to say shit that feels right. But fortunately, the crowd's small, so hopefully it doesn't work too well for them.
President and the Senate is elected for a period of time. But the president's elected
No
for
shit.
4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
Elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time.
I bet you I could find a
during that
tweet.
time, We have an open
Bet you I could find a tweet from Donald Trump that says, yeah, Obama shouldn't be selecting a Supreme Court nominee. I fucking bet you.
when you got that number. The
But I'm not gonna look
big
through that
you
shit.
have Is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly going to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to
This-
socialist
this is-
medicine.
we're now into
Oh,
we're now
keyword,
into
socialist.
open
He just said it.
discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number
White.
one, he knows that.
That can mean anything.
What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won, were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has said.
That is simply.
Your party
Obama
hasn't
said you
your
could keep your
party has
doctor,
said
though.
go
That turned out
socialist
fucky.
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
Whew.
The platform of the
God
Democratic
damn.
Party is what
Oh, he actually said that.
approved of, what I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by
I
the
thought
way,
that was a
the
joke.
200,000 people that have died on his watch. How many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people. That
Did he just say 200 million?
And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on
I
his
doubt it.
watch.
Okay.
How many of those have survived? Well, there's 7.
Still on the fence about that. Donald Trump's hands are not clean in that whole thing, but I'm always like, what exactly is the president responsible for, et cetera, et cetera. Not sure he himself could have stopped a pandemic, but obviously I do believe he could have done more.
7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act?
Joe, you've had 300.
And this is where things get fucky, because I sure as fuck can't afford healthcare right now.
Healthcare in the military, so don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And if
this.
you were here, it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200. It would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want me
the
to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which
no,
was heavily
Mr. President,
infected. You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
much later.
Mr.
You're
President,
talking about 2 million people.
You're not gonna be able
President,
to
as
shut
a
him up.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe
How
v.
do you
Wade.
moderate this
That's
shit?
on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is all
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is
you
it on the
said
ballot? It's not
you-
on the ballot.
What?
It's on the ballot
Uh-oh.
in the
I
don't
court.
think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening
What
there.
is that?
Donald, would you
And you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a minute?
her view on Roe v. Wade.
I
You
don't
know her
know.
view.
Well, all right, let's talk.
I know you got to fight for your time in these debates, but
On health
damn,
care,
dude.
And then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the
Oh, you know what?
election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they
If-
wanna
if-
give
if I-
good
if I-
health care.
If I may ask my question,
Hold on, hon. Can the subtitles catch up, or they're just going to always be behind?
sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
He
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you
rid
an
of the
when I
individual
finish, I'm
mandate.
going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That
big
is not a
chunk of
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I
worst part of
didn't ask-
Obamacare.
It's not a comprehensive plan, though.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The
no,
individual mandate was the most.
I'll ask Joe, nigga. You are the
And we will
debater.
I'm the moderator of this debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question.
Holy
and you can
shit.
answer
Go
your
ahead.
question. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to.
Is he
replace
used to being in rooms
Obamacare,
where he's not
and
the
Just
boss?
this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question is the Trump health care plan.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something. That there's nothing.
Hold on, what do you say?
First of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised.
Because you chose to do so, my dude.
There's nothing symbolic.
He
I'm
just
cutting
asked the
drug prices.
question.
I'm going with favored
Or
nations,
try
which
to.
no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting healthcare. All of the things that we've done. I'll give you an example. Insulin. It's going to. It
He's got it right, though.
was destroying families, destroying people. Because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth? So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs that what we're doing. Prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny
As
fraction.
I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about.
big.
You'll
This
be
is
happy,
big stuff.
sir.
Thank you, Daddy, for giving me permission to go to other places to buy drugs that would keep me alive.
That you would like to have
Healthcare in America is a fucking joke.
to Obamacare, and the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
well, if I
Sorry.
can ask you the question. It will end private insurance and create
This
a
poor
government
man.
takeover of healthcare.
It does
I'm sure
not.
he's
It's only
evil
for
in some
those
way, but
people
right
who
now
are
I
so
sympathize
poor
with
they
him.
qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not.
Y'all can hear that fine,
in
right?
That option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie Sanders, who's far left, on the manifesto,
Well,
we
you-
call it.
well,
And
manifest-
that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you
I'm
saying
not
you
going to
didn't
listen to
agree?
him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here
much.
standing facing you.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every
Okay.
All he knows how to
on
do is
Super
hurt people.
Tuesday. You got
One way
very
Biden could win this
I got very
is if
lucky.
he
You got
doesn't
lucky tonight
fall
as well.
for
And
Trump's
tonight I'm
bullying.
gonna make sure
He's really good at
Here's the
like,
deal.
come down
Here's the
here.
deal. The fact is that everything he's saying,
And
so
he's
far
doing
is
that
simply a
already.
lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you-
I just
Yeah.
want to make
Joe,
sure.
you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make sure.
Man's still talking. Holy fuck.
He doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
you picked
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy, the
Go,
wrong
go,
night at
go.
the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders in the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him-
There is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
I mean, he been lost to far left though.
Agreed with Bernie Sanders.
Nobody who loved Bernie is like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm voting for Biden. They're just like,
Socialized, they
doing-
call it
Mr.
Medicare
You
for
have any
President. Socialized
Fuck.
medicine.
Mr.
Well, I
President.
tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care. Because he, in fact, already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million
His
people
recession?
getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't
How's it his?
look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But-
because
and by the way, he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has
Obamacare,
never done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
is
realize
no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time.
and it's still
like, do they?
The president's. Go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good.
Wasn't
We
even
made
his
it better,
turn.
And I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed, they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people, okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
and I
known
just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well you run
So
Obamacare,
that's a tip I learned actually in the last year. I'm surprised Biden kind of did it. If you're saying something, because I'm one of those people who gets cut off really easily in conversation. If someone cuts you off in conversation, keep speaking. And if they seem to keep doing it, raise your voice. Whatever you had to say is also important. It's not, oh, I was talking, but no, you could talk now because what I have to say wasn't important. No, speak up. But that's just me.
it's a disaster. It's too expensive.
I got you.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what
So
his people
we
say.
do want to
No,
get
no,
rid of it.
it's
Chris,
an
we
open-
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir,
something
but I have
that's
to, I
cheaper
have to
and
give you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no.
I hope he has a timer.
healthcare.
Of course we do.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected.
Executive
He
orders
has
are
not.
kind of
Like
finicky.
almost
I don't really
everything else he
understand them
talks about,
myself.
He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right.
He's
I have
against.
one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice
Here's the
President.
thing. He doesn't need a plan. He just needs to find someone with a plan because Trump's not an expert at everything.
If Senate Republicans go
Can't be.
ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was
Wait.
brought up by some of your Democratic
Oh.
colleagues in the Congress. So my question
So
is,
they wanna
refused in the past to talk about
increase
it.
the
Are you going to
limit
tell the American
of
people tonight
justices.
whether
Yeah,
or not
that
you
will
want
bite them in the
to end
ass.
the filibuster or
That's short-sighted as
Whatever
fuck.
position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how
you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know.
He doesn't
Are you
want
going to pack the court?
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a
is
lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justices,
the
radical
question.
left.
Will you shut
Are you
up?
going to pack the court?
Who's on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
All right, gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unpresidential.
court.
We
and
have
he's
en-
not
no,
going to give a
we
list.
have-
It is unpresidential, but I don't even know what the fucking word presidential means anymore.
Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They should.
What the fuck am I
47 years,
watching?
you've got Nothing. They understand.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject, so let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases
He has to
of
tell them that.
coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine. Experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal.
Oh no, I'm a millennial. Normalcy for me is constant dread.
So far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this?
Oh, you don't like this question.
Going forward, in this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5% of
Trump is something
the
else.
population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day.
That's one of his hand
When he
mannerisms.
was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly
Oh, they're going to
disease.
ask that.
What did he do?
Because that's kind of got swept under a rug like the fucking UFOs.
People a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do?
I mean, people panic.
We were insisting that the Chinese, the
Wait,
people we had.
he just pointed at the camera and said, "You don't panic." He just pointed at the American people and said, "You don't panic." Let me just make this final point clear. I need you guys to understand where I'm going with this. He just said that the people who heard about an airborne virus and made toilet paper sold out across the country do not panic. There's observations and then there's, outright lies. According to my observations, that is an outright lie.
Out on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then
I'm all for calming the waters, but
waited and waited. He still doesn't have a
fuck
plan.
President
I
Pooh
laid out
over in
back
China.
March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be
The
providing
Chinese Communist Party is something else, man. They're a different type of evil.
In order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
He tripped over himself there.
Wait, you have 2 minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand.
Oof.
But
Ooh.
what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's
Damn.
xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't
He
think I
has
should have
points
closed
here.
our country
I can't
because you
fucking
thought it was
believe
it was
I'm agreeing
terrible.
with Trump.
You wouldn't have closed it
I'm
for another 2 months. By my
a little bit livid right
determination,
now.
Dr. Fauci said
Turn this back
President
up.
Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily...
It's going to take
on the side
years to
said
fact
that.
check this entire
President
thing.
Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer
I
people
don't know.
are
I think
dying. They
Biden
get
probably
sick.
would have.
Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good
Not
press.
Fox.
They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you
No.
something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it.
There is
You
news
could
that
have
doesn't
never
like
done
you,
the
but
job
there's
that we
quite a
did.
bit of
You
news
don't
that
have
loves
any
you.
blood. You could have never done that job.
I know.
I'm tired. I'm tired of right wingers playing this fucking victim game.
H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a,
There was-
far
there
less
was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
you made a point. Let him answer.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or
Kitchen
dad?
table.
You couldn't even speak to them. You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
Emotional appeal. Okay. Yeah, this is a huge emotional appeal right here.
His own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up, he said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson &
Fauci.
Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future.
What's wrong with
because you both
trusting the
have touched on
scientists?
Two of the questions I'm going to
over
focusing on
a
the future,
politician?
President Trump
For
You
a
have
vaccine, I would
repeatedly
go with the
either contradicted
scientist on
or
that
been
one.
at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally
Don't
available
vaccines take like
to
7 years
the
to be
public.
like
He said that he was
legit?
confused and
I don't know
mistaken
enough
was
about
your two
vaccines,
words.
so
But Dr.
ignore the
Fauci,
holes I'm
the head
poking
of
right now.
Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer.
People
I've
like
spoken
that.
to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna.
How
Johnson
available
&
would it be,
Johnson, and
though?
others. They can be
Like,
faster than that
vaccines
by a
aren't
lot.
cheap to produce
Become very
or
political because
discover.
The left, or I don't know if I call
So
them
you're
left. I don't know
suggesting
what I
that the
call them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr.
I
Slawi,
disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be more.
That's where I'm at too. I don't know
My
where
office
Joe
could be
Biden
we
is.
talked about the summer
I don't know if he's left or right.
just
He
like
said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
generally available, not when
Well,
it'll
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is
delivering.
the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle.
That's what we
By the way,
thought.
Maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically.
That was
you know
him.
that. That was said
And
sarcastically.
so here's the
But that
deal.
sucks about your
This man
Twitter,
was
though.
speaking-
Here's what sucks about Twitter. Trump's Twitter. You don't know what to take seriously. You don't know what to take sarcastically. You don't even know what's a national order. He uses it kind of recklessly, so it's kind of hard to be like, is he serious right now? If you love him, you're gonna interpret what he says generously. If you hate him, you're gonna look at the worst interpretation of what he said. If you dislike him strongly like me, but admit that he's a broken clock that could be right a couple times a day, you're just going to drive yourself crazy Googling way more resources than you need to just to be, sure of something that ultimately probably doesn't matter. Seriously, folks, take a break from U.S. politics. I know this current setting. I'm not the one who should be preaching to you, but I do this shit once a week, because more than this, I'm not in a good space right now, and this isn't helping.
About a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year, but the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine, and pray God. we
Oh, that's
will.
crazy.
Pray God
Yeah,
we
get
will.
that vaccine, baby.
You'll have the vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
Mm-hmm.
pick
that.
up on this question.
These are
You
words.
say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned.
I mean,
about
Trump's
the
already
vaccine and
done
more
some
likely
weird
to get it,
things
are you
to
and
the
your
science
running mate,
side of
Senator
his
Harris, contributing to the
administration,
vaccine?
so
No more than the question you
I
just
think that
asked.
argument does hold weight.
He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is
Yeah.
saying you can't trust the scientists.
Well, no, you can't trust
Unfortunately, he's
scientists.
very
She didn't say that. You can't trust
You're saying
anti-science.
The public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
in fact,
scientists that are in charge.
I'm sorry, are you
I spoke to the
saying
vaccine very
private industry
if you believe
should be
the
handling the
what he's
vaccination?
telling you, in light of all the
Sounds like a
lies
crazy
he's told you
idea.
about the whole issue relating to COVID. He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February.
Yeah, that's
and
scary to
he
me.
didn't
He's
even
like-
tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked, or he just looked at the stock market. One of the
I really
two.
want to see what
Guess
happens.
A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot.
What the
name
fuck
of
was that?
college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you
man.
know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done.
What are we
You
doing?
would have had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
and
he's
it's
We're going
going
to get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to talking
When
about
it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several.
I don't like that we've given the president this much power to determine how. I don't know. It seems like the virus has already been politicized, and it's just like, can we keep some stuff away from politics? Like, can we just get shit done? Not that politics is supposed to be a bad thing, and by nature it's supposed to be something that we have to deal with in order for humanity to progress. But politics here it's fucking sports, man, and it's gross. It's just fucking gross.
All of those reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide them
Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi.
And
Schumer,
by the way,
Brian Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the Senate. But he sits on his golf course and think about it. You more than I do.
Like if this were a street side roast session, that'd be dope. Unfortunately, we're trying to figure out who's president here, so while hilarious, ill still, but
He wants to shut down
Trump with the bangers.
Went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart
Street side roast
problems,
session. Are
diabetes,
those a
and different
thing?
Problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look
But you
at
can still
certain
carry
states
it,
that have
homie.
been shut
Just because you
down
don't die from it
for
doesn't mean you
5
can't carry
One
it
of
to
the
people
reasons
who
they
aren't
shut down is 'cause they
susceptible.
want to keep it shut down until after the election on November
I want to
3rd.
move on to another
Because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to another
thing.
I gotta
subject.
respond.
But those states,
I gotta
those
respond to
states
that.
are
Yeah,
not doing
that's how
well
he.
to shut down
Which is
right
gotta
now.
respond to that.
Wants to
President
shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks are
efficacy
okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to. But I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
I mean, it's a good idea just to get it. Okay. It sucks because like personal accountability and responsibility is an important thing, but understanding your role as a leader with a lot of eyes on you is also important. No, you are not responsible if other people want to put on their masks or not, but it's probably a good idea knowing that a lot of people look up to you to probably wear a mask a bit more often. I'm not saying like either of them are right or wrong in this case, but I'm gonna lean on Joe on that case because with Joe on that one because I don't know. I'm pro-mask at this point. At the beginning, I wasn't, but at this point, it's just like, let's end this shit.
Go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money. The
But
Congress.
I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives.
Predictions are a
They've
bitch,
also said
though.
the opposite. They've also
And
said
no serious person said the opposite. No,
Like, as a
serious
Florida
person.
man,
Fauci.
predictions are a
Fauci said
bitch.
He did
I
not
want
say
to
the
ask you, we
opposite.
got a
said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly.
minute left in this.
We down here in Florida
Then he
do
changed
not
his mind.
trust
He said
our
masks-
meteorologists.
I'm okay with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both about
masks.
one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir.
But Hurricane died.
Vice President Biden,
Nobody's gonna bring
you are
it up?
holding much smaller
Herman-
events with
Nobody
Didn't
will
they
show
trace
up.
that back to a Trump rally, or is that
Nobody
just
shows
the
up.
narrative?
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
you've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 25, 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issue,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours.
Looks like he is taking
And
precautions.
Joe
That's
does the
good.
circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see one of the last big rallies he has? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no
from
negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've had no negative.
Oh, that's a terrible way to spin that.
People
You wanna-
come to these rallies.
Just
Yes.
quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the
Shame on you,
social
Joe.
distancing and people wearing masks. Basically encourage them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on that.
If you could get the crowds, you
He's
would have
so
done the same.
fucking
He did
orange.
everything.
Holy
Can we move on to the
shit.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy.
Like, it only stands out when you
is,
see
I
him
think
next
it's
to
fair say,
another white
recovering
person.
faster than expected from the shutdown.
At least to me.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped
Fuck the reserve.
recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy. President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
Ooh.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague
I keep hearing people reference that, but like anytime I hear something about the economy, like good or bad, I'm just like, get kind of selfish. How does that relate to me?
came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204.
Again, these predictions. How do you have these numbers? It's all hypothetical.
From China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th?
Dying over here. Not like I go outside anyway, but still.
By keeping them closed, they're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina,
no,
Pennsylvania,
people don't know what to do.
A couple of others, you got to open these states.
They have made that insanely clear.
It's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce. Look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of our relationships
we don't need somebody
are formed around our work lives. So, tis what tis. Love is weird.
As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax.
And this is where we get back to emotional appeals. Like, I agree with that statement, and I'm sure he's saying it just to radicalize the further left.
How well are you doing? This guy paid
Oh, there we go.
$50 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's just I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
I get my time back. The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines.
But
those people who have been.
Can we talk about like federal jobs though? Ain't there a bit too many? Like, can we scale back on that? Federal. Do we need all those jobs? Like, do we need the federal government to be employing as many people as it has? I think we should all strive to have a more efficient government, but who cares?
Saving our lives. Those people who have been out there dying.
What the fuck is the national debt, by the way? They said about they talked about the reserve, and then they're just like, national debt, and then they didn't really talk about what goes along with the reserve. They're just like, yeah, the reserve.
People who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of
I don't
your
believe
health
that,
and your
though.
safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school
Wait, why aren't or why are?
Then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national
They opened it here in
emergency.
Florida, and that was a
Nothing
mistake.
to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care
happens
of the needs
anyway.
of the American people so we can open safely.
I mean, I have no. That's going to be taken out of context. What I mean by that is like small businesses fail quite regularly, especially in the first 2 years. If you are a small business and you made it past your first 2 years, congrats. Now you got to make it past the first 5 years because your chances of dying then are still pretty high. But I'm sure COVID made those stats even worse.
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2
Why do I know this shit? Like, this is such useless information. Holy fuck.
minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives. They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
the people of Ohio.
Because football will save America.
are very proud of me, and you know
We're
how
going
I
to
did
get
that? When you took a
gentlemen, we're
phony
going to
ad.
get to your economic plans.
I think
going
football is
forward in a
actually
moment.
ruined in
First,
America,
Mr.
but that's just me.
As you well know, there's a new report
Fuck sports.
that in
I
2016,
mean,
the
I like
year you were
sports, but
elected
holy
president
shit,
in
people need to
2017,
calm
your
down
first
and pay
year as
attention.
president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax.
But then they're
each
going
of
to turn
those
around and be
years.
like, how the fuck we get here?
I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes
Why would he answer
each
that?
of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax.
He's not going to
And
answer
let
that.
me
Yeah,
just
no,
tell
why would
you,
he answer that?
There was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million
Show us your tax
one year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, there's a 118-page or so report. That says
No, he
everything
won't.
I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very, I built
Sir,
a great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific
Bro, if
question.
he wins a
Let me
second
tell you,
term, he
I
has no reason to show us
I
shit.
understand,
But
but
let me-
no, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking
Oh,
you
they
a
got the question up. Nice.
Will
I just
you
noticed
tell
that.
us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to
when?
see it. But let me just
Inshallah?
tell you, Chris. Let me just tell you something. That it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was
Yeah.
a private developer. I was a private business people, like every other private person, unless they're stupid.
Just so y'all don't know where I stand on this, hi, I'm a libertarian. I think everybody's going to do what they can to pay as little tax as they possibly can. So, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game.
But they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation.
Don't hate the player.
Tax credits. We built a building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond.
What man?
The tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart,
Emotional
so he can
appeal.
take advantage of the tax code.
Pays less taxes than I
does
do.
take
Wait,
advantage of
does
the
he?
tax code. That's why
I don't know.
I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts, and I'm going to eliminate those tax
Okay.
cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who in fact need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25
So
years?
Because
words like
why
that
did you do it
are
over-
why
Screwing
the
things
stock
up.
market crashes whenever a
You're the
Democrat
worst
gets
president
elected.
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in
The fear.
in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never.
Again,
even thought
it's a
of.
PAC
And
statement.
fixing
I
the
don't
broken
care for it right
military
now.
that you gave me, including taking care
we're
of your
talking,
vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward because, Mr. Vice President,
Fix the
your
broken
economic
military you
plan,
gave me. The
if you were
fuck?
to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big
Biden was
taxes,
vice president.
big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out
I mean-
that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his.
All you're gonna do is make more
Number
loopholes.
two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company
But
in
respectfully,
America.
sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Well, by the way,
Oof.
I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 19.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you not just say I'm going to eliminate?
Not spending.
Well, by the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have
America. How the fuck did we get here?
91 companies, in the Fortune 500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when you
dollars.
were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
That's right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what
Yeah,
happened?
you got it done.
Our economy boomed
And,
like it's never
the
boomed.
economy
Well,
is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me
Mr.
finish.
President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
Let me.
Excuse me.
But Obama's, you talk about the economy booming.
I could use
It
some
turns
lower
out that in
taxes.
Obama's final 3 years as
Income
president,
tax should just be
more
gone.
jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, They took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs.
But it was a
also means
recovery.
401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president,
Oh,
with
come
your
on
ideas,
now.
you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty
Half
of
of the
companies that are
companies-
already here, they'll leave for
hardly any
other
companies
places.
have
They will
poured in
leave,
here.
and you will have a
Have it-
depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed
did
him
you
a
do,
booming
buddy?
economy. He blew
You were
it.
vice
He
president.
blew it. He
It
blew it.
wasn't booming. It was the weakest
Well,
recovery
sir, is it
since
fair to, wait, is it
1929.
fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID came.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before
Oof,
COVID,
nice one, Wallace.
manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris.
Nice one,
Number two,
Wallace.
Chris,
Holy
They
shit.
said it would take. No, you're a number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would
This
take a
guy is-
miracle to bring.
Oh
back-
my-
Take. No, you're a number two.
No.
Chris.
Again, it's so fucking rough because Trump is a terrible debater, but as someone who could talk shit, amazing.
They said it would
This
take a
guy is-
miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree with that.
standard fare.
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
Let him-
We brought
You
back,
are?
I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it.
Cash
And
for
in fact,
clunkers?
they're
That's the
gone.
only thing I
Ohio had
remember.
The best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies
No,
came in from Germany, from
not-
Japan,
no,
went to Michigan,
no,
went to
that's-
Ohio.
they're not having
And
that.
they didn't
Vice-
come
wait,
in
wait,
with
wait,
you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so
Michigan
you take
is
a
looking
look at
pretty
what
good
he's
right
actually
now.
done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate your
Mexico.
lunch.
All right,
Down
gentlemen,
18%.
in-
China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also,
Simply
while we're
not
at it,
true.
why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
is
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is-
did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that
deserve
is true.
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked your
that is
question,
true.
let him answer.
Again,
None-
fact
none
checking
of
this
that is
shit
true.
would take
Totally
years.
discredited.
I'm not doing that. I'm not even
Totally
starting.
discredited, please.
I'm watching this.
Discredited. Totally
I'm
discredited.
slapping it on YouTube, not even editing the bitch. I'm going on with my
You
life.
got $3.5 million.
That is not true.
Oh,
Here's-
really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But, Mr.
it's an open discussion. Please, you
Goddamn.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Gonna lower the side chain.
Some
There we
did
go.
Nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
and
Mr. President,
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally
The truth.
discredited.
By who?
And
The
Ukraine.
media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies,
talk
by the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited.
Biden looks so done. He's just like, God fuck.
Under oath.
God fucking damn it.
no, go ahead, Mister. I'm listening to you.
People under,
He got $3.5 million from
testified,
Moscow.
he testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to know
honorably.
who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure,
No, you won't.
You've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't
well,
do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say
You get
that.
the, wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me. This.
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
say,
No. I'm
No.
Mr. President.
$3.5
I'm Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about
This
family.
poor moderator.
I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already.
family,
No, let him go.
my family
already
lost
wrote.
a
Why are we
fortune
talking?
coming down and helping us with government.
And that's such a
Every single one of them.
No.
It's about my
President.
family. It's about your family.
They
The
didn't collect
American people.
$3.5 million.
No.
That's not true. He doesn't want to talk
No.
about
Also, nepotism. What the fuck?
American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about. Here.
All right,
Not about here.
that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no,
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
He
I
stood
get
up.
No,
He stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is
threatened
no.
What the fuck?
Sir?
with $1 billion if you
That
get rid of
is
the
you know what, you're-
absolutely not
stop.
true.
Take
You're-
doing it.
What the fuck is going on?
I hate to raise my voice,
he's
but
on
it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
Oh,
interrupting
that's
than
all
he
right.
has.
He does plenty.
Well,
Oh my God! You fucking child.
let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President...
That's a grown-ass man. Hey, Tags, what up? I'm
years ago, when he told
over here dying,
people on both sides, was what directly led you to...
trying to figure out who this country's new daddy's gonna be.
Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you:
Holy shit.
why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to...
But yeah, look at all them jobs I don't care to defend this. I know people are already like, that's right. He did a fucking lot for those niggers.
It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And
Also, shout out to my Southerners. You're not all racist. I know that.
we require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Accomplished it, but we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the races when those people
I really should put chat up on the screen.
looked like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed, and they asked the president what he thought. He said they were very
That was pretty bad.
on both sides.
That was pretty bad. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Anything like that.
Finish this.
It is who's
Now,
who
second,
sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed,
And like,
there was a peaceful...
for people who aren't aware of why I think that's bad, Trump took a strangely safe and pragmatic approach to respond to something that didn't really need a pragmatic approach. This man goes off on celebrities, on TV channels, ratings. When it comes time to say, hey, those people spewing racist shit in South Carolina, they bad? I mean, people could be bad. Like, it's just bad visuals. There's a time to be a centrist, and there's a time to like legit pick a side. He chose the weird time to be a centrist. But that's my take.
Had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president.
That is fucking true.
Everything
That's true.
Dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division.
Dog whistles are weird.
In fact, you talk about helping African.
They do exist. It's just kind of, they're tricky. They're dog whistles.
Has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 5.
I'm telling myself to stop pausing, but there's like points where I have to say something. I've hung around a lot of, not a lot, but a few right-wing message boards. Not always right-wing, usually just like conservative, casually conservative. And a common mantra that you see people jokingly say is XYZ is racist now. So by him saying that, I'm already hearing people say, wow, Joe Biden thinks coronavirus is racist, not taking context or population or demographics into account. Because, I mean, I'm not fact checking shit here, but what Joe just said sounds pretty right. Probably is affecting, I'm gonna say black people, African Americans isn't a thing for me, unless you're actually from Africa. Yeah, that face. Yeah, probably hurt a lot of black people because, we tend to congregate in urban areas. Shout out to White Flight, and the disease hits us there. So
500 African Americans. This man is the savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing.
To this day, like, even when Trump was running in 2016, he was like, black people, what do you have to lose? I'm just like, that is a fucky ass appeal, man. What do I have to lose? Is that all you gotta say? I'm a black person. Your life is shit. Vote for me. What have you got to lose? Yeesh.
The fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So, President Trump, why should Americans trust
Funny coming from you.
your opponent to deal with
He did a
racism?
crime bill, 1994.
Oh, there we go.
Where you call them super predators, African Americans are super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So
They?
you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community.
I hate being black, man. It's so weird talking, like hearing people try to talk about you. Like, I don't feel like an individual right now. I feel like I am the consequences of a shit ton of other people's actions. I mean, at least he's honest about not having some kind of plan. Yeah, Who knows anymore?
Everybody in this country, you did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that because you look back at your
Bro, I
testimony.
fucking love Filipinos. Y'all are the hardest co-workers to have. Hardest working co-workers.
250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, Filipinos and Haitians, hands down, best co-workers I've ever had.
Law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement because if you say those words...
Again, emotional appeal. I don't...
And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words...
I don't care what law enforcement agencies support whom.
That fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it
I
because
really fucking don't.
the left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place...
Bruh, older Haitians are Yoda. Oh my god. That's actually on point.
Back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and
The
order.
older ones are slick though. They say some slick shit.
Just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and
They're like, I'm gonna still work hard, but
and they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe.
I'm gonna say something about this.
Say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right.
The people.
I want to return to the
There are people in this country who demand law and order.
Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case,
Ooh.
decided not to...
Ooh, I'm loving this moderator because, like, what I was going to end the previous line with is, like, yeah, there are people in this country demanding law and order. People in Kentucky didn't get that, but, you know, tis what tis. Am I getting squadrons? I don't believe so. I wasn't looking. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting it. I don't know what new games I'm getting anytime soon, honestly. I am in a fucking rut, so I'm not really looking forward to much.
Police with homicide. You said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority...
Thanks for the invite, man. Appreciate that.
Decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call a together...
Institutionalized racism and justice system is kind of fucky.
The civil rights groups, to the police officers, the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it, but we have to have a system where people are held accountable. When, and
Yeah.
by the way, violence.
Can we end qualified immunity?
Never
Can we
appropriate.
end qualified immunity?
Violence is never appropriate.
All right, Mr.
Say end qualified immunity.
They run through the middle of the
End qualified immunity. Come on.
and kill people
President
all over
Trump,
the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest.
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
President Trump,
But there were peaceful protesters. You fucking.
the issue of law and order
Oh, you donkey. You fucking donkey.
directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory.
I heard that wasn't as like it sounds
that to end racial sensitivity training
like something with good intent, but I've
that there is systemic
again haven't looked at it myself, but I heard it probably was more damaging than
I ended up
good.
A lot of people who were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it. And
'Cause-
everybody else.
Again, it feels so fucking weird to be talked about like in this manner. But shit, where the fuck was I going that? I don't know, I'm gonna continue.
And he would know.
What is
Oh, it was
radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training? sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And
Oh, that's why I was going with it. Cause like, you know, you always wanna petition people to be more open to like look at their own biases and what is this thing on my screen? I don't know what the fuck that is. But yeah, always look at themselves critically and say, hey, where can I change? But sometimes that backfires. Or sometimes the people you're appealing to miss the message. The most recent incident I could think of is Oscar So White. Once, I forget what year it was, but that year, damn near every major actor nominee ended up being a white dude. So people took to Twitter to call them out on that. what did the Oscars do after they heard and listened? They nominated Black Panther for Movie of the Year. I don't even know what Best Picture means at that point. Love the movie, I have it. But Best Picture?
Really?
So, like, people, I don't know. You always got to check the actual intent. We always want stuff done for good merit, but like once the results come in, you got to evaluate them fairly.
They were teaching people to hate our country, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going
I
to
hate that line. Oh, the right loves that line so fucking much.
values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country, and I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
I mean, I had to look at it myself, but that's not happening.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware
I think it was the 1619,
what
unless I'm mixing up my news headlines.
demeaning to them. It's important that people know. They don't want to. Many people
1619 project, yeah.
But it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grow up. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people.
People still looking down on Irish Catholics? I mean, Joe was born last century, so he probably could have experienced that in his life. I don't want to say he never experienced that.
Who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do.
How do you bring everyone together? That's such a high concept phrase.
Racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you look at sort of many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland.
Let's just ignore everything that's happened under your presidency and go back to Obama. That makes sense.
That run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order. You still haven't mentioned. Are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow
Are you in favor of law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm in favor.
You asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order.
Let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15%.
Can I just say I'm so happy there's like no clapping going on during this debate? That'd have been gross.
Mr. President, you're going
States of America.
Mr. President,
every record in the
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
states.
my question. There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in
That's not the Democrat.
equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So
We ain't doing shit. We're out here killing each other.
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look
It's not a political.
at Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150.
Chicago is a place I used to live in. Chicago is rough. I'm very happy I no longer live in Chicago. That being said, if Chicago ever were to clean up its act, the Republicans got to work really hard to find a new boogeyman. Maybe they'll go to St. Louis, the actual murder capital of the United States. Who knows?
200% crime. It
Republican
is
cities.
crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he
Man barely has any radical left supporters.
gone, by the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
wouldn't
seen.
White fight.
suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs
He would
so
not.
much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead, wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many.
Is that a dog whistle? That might be, because that's the thing about dog whistles. Like when people say shit that can be interpreted a few ways, they could be saying what they mean, or they could be saying some slick shit. Or I'm sad that I'm saying this. In Trump case, maybe he's accidentally reciting some rhetoric that he heard on the radio.
People today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means
let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
look. What I support is the
That's a good way to put it.
the opportunity to.
That's a nice way to put it. Damn, Wallace.
And I'm totally
You
opposed to
sexy.
funding the police offices. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance.
Can we cut their military funding though? Like, why do cops have tanks when we have National Guards?
To keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have
Yeah.
to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what
in
they're
prevention.
talking about,
That's-
Chris. That's
well,
not what they're
that-
talking
That is what. Okay.
about.
I mean, maybe some radicals. I'll give Trump a little bit of wiggle room. Maybe there are some radicals who are saying, "Yo, get rid of all the police." But defund the police means, yo, redistribute the money that they're stealing from us in a smarter way.
Time to do
No,
anything.
think
So
about
listen,
it.
all right,
Name
folks,
one law enforcement group that came out and
I think,
supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
There
moderator's
aren't. I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have been violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had
Trump just got a little bit aroused.
of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President,
Not many. What the fuck are you doing?
that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you'd stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who
I mean, I'm assuming. Yeah, I haven't seen him.
The leader, excuse me, sir, you had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call and bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
they can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look, here.
Oh, really?
Here,
Oh, really?
here's the
But
thing.
That's kind of how I feel, but it depends on the situation.
In the middle of the street, they shot him, and for 3
Mr.
days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump,
anything.
please
I had to send in
interrupt
the U.S. Marshals.
President
They took
Trump,
care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all
Yeah,
about.
I don't know who said that.
kind of do.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne.
They make him seem more electable, like he's the person, the solution to the problem.
The point is that that's what he is, keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down.
Yeah,
Instead of going
I could buy that.
to people
I could see
let's get everybody
the
to
logic in that.
about how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly,
And-
every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to
Yeah.
end this, button up this.
Yeah, he is a divider. That's for damn sure.
You have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His
repeatedly.
statement? Wait.
No, you've been talking back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would
no,
love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You know,
we
if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We would very quickly.
We can do that. But
I'd
I'm
send
no,
in the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not
There you go.
specifically calling out
Keep it moving.
Antifa and other left-wing
right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight
Ooh.
to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha?
I saw a lot of memes about this.
Sure,
you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right.
Why are you picking now to be a centrist? Why? Man gave you like, hey man, you got a lot of shit for not denouncing them earlier. Here's another chance. Just tell the people what they want to hear so they can stop giving you shit. No. And then people are going to defend the fuck out of this, which is why I'm not fucking with social media right now, because no.
Right
So
wing.
what are you
If
saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
white
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
Stand back and stand by. Stand by. Who? That's the face you make if you can remind people. Like Joe Biden's face right now is like, man, if I could play this sound clip to everyone the night before election, I got this in the bag.
Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing
threat
problem.
of white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
you gotta be
not
kidding
militia.
me.
That's what
Oh,
his
it's an idea.
FBI, his FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir.
Everybody-
Moving on to the next.
I mean,
That hits you over the head. That's not an idea.
Everybody-
Antifa-
I can see the argument for that. I don't know much about Antifa.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you.
I like that phrase. I'm still voting for Joe Jorgensen, but I like the phrase.
President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax.
I'm not unpacking that.
So what
I let him
happened
just
with
talking shit.
Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these
Con job.
fight both
That probably ain't wrong.
and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding.
What unity? He just threw that word out there and kept it moving.
A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care.
I'm, again, not doing this with Trump, but if you slow him down just a little bit, it's like, what are you doing? Like, I've tried to read his sentences transcribed. It's not easy. It's not fun.
It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've
No, we don't.
built our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court judges, justices. That is a record the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have
It's not a record to brag about.
because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to
Did they really do that? Holy fuck.
It'll probably be above that.
That sounds bad.
End of this term, 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I
I agree with 2 of those.
we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused a
Boom.
recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got
And-
$3.5 million.
That's right. And
Mr.
by the way,
President,
my son,
wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute
Yeah.
interrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
he never keeps his word. Can you add
No,
back
no,
30
no,
He's
I'm
a
not
person
asking.
that's
That was a
been
rhetorical
yelling.
question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So
I think the next
thirdly,
debate is going to have the ability to cut mics.
much more wealthy. By
That can't end well. They won't do that. Never mind.
Since COVID, you in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more
Yeah, the buck stops here.
it can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah, you know Bo.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out dishonorably.
Can't touch Bo.
It's not true. It
for
wasn't.
Bo's dead.
15 years, and he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made
son,
a fortune.
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug.
There's another hardcore emotional appeal.
Fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he
I'm proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions
All
of
right.
dollars?
Oh, Biden.
Millions of
given
dollars. That
tens
is
of
totally
millions of
that's been
dollars.
totally
President Trump,
discredited.
you've already
Discredited.
been
Totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a
I know, but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay, great.
from the
Let's talk
mayor
about-
of Moscow,
let's talk
That is
about-
not
I think it's a
true.
gentlemen,
That
terrible thing.
report is totally
Why did he get
discredited.
it?
I
Mitt
think-
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money. That report was for political reasons.
How much money have your family made off government
Okay.
or different government deals?
Are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years.
Oh, I don't think the science knows. So science works when I can easily agree with it and it doesn't go against my narrative. But if it goes against my narrative, I can't agree with it. By the way, I don't think the forest fires and climate change are that closely linked. When I tried to look it up, because I kept seeing this, I'm like, how are this linked? And the common theory is like, oh, it's hotter, therefore more water evaporates, therefore the trees go on fire. But an alternative, a skeptical approach to that, because you can't, like, there's some truth to it, of course, but a skeptical approach to that via science is that trees are supposed to burn pretty occasionally, like depends on the forest, of course, but they gotta die to make room for new growth. Otherwise, you just got trees just there taking up space, not providing enough opportunity for new vegetation and flora to get that precious sunlight and nitrogen out the ground. So, forest fires aren't like a universally bad thing, but I guess on tonight they will be. Also, forest fires in their residential area are totally different from forest fires far away from people.
The Paris Climate Accord, you have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change
He believes climate change is a hoax.
in the next 4 years to confront it?
He's already made that clear.
Crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses.
I need to see them.
Businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management.
Paris Accord was kind of fucky because it's like
Forest floors are loaded up.
U.S. was being held accountable, but other countries weren't. It's weird.
And everything else, you drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good.
That is a non-answer.
Billion trees, the big
That's a non-answer.
and it's very
Do you
exciting. for a
believe
lot of people.
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think
Damn.
we have
Okay, he said it to an extent.
our forests every year.
I mean, it's an answer. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I want a fucking answer.
If
Okay.
that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you
I
would
agree with
make
that.
those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city.
But how much is this going to cost us?
Trees that are far more, they ignite.
Or an alternative question: how much is it going to cost us if we don't?
I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground. That's burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen? Because
Get
of the
electric.
cost of the car, you would
Get electric, funded by windmills and
triple the number
sun and all that. I'm joking, of course.
that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the case of
$3,500.
California, they've simply
no, but you
ignored
would take
your
a lot of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me. Many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And, and I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden.
I agree with that. California's got some weird shit going on.
Climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net
Can we do that?
greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these.
Because we keep consuming power. That's the problem. We are more and more digital, and COVID definitely exacerbated that.
During our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy.
So it's like, it's nice to, like, it's really easy to say, hey, I want the earth to be greener and more sustainable for future generations. What's hard is taking off your digital, crutches for an hour or more than usual a day in order to make that happen. That future does require sacrifice, and it seems like we're kind of offloading the sacrifice onto other people, myself included. I'm not perfect in this, because I would like a greener planet. I don't see why people don't, but I think a lot of people, when they hear, hey, let's keep the planet safe, they think less Captain Planet and more Alexandria Ocasio, or I don't know her whole name, AOC.
Oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a
even if power demands get too high.
Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero.
That's another thing too. There's a lot of old energy inefficient houses in America. Would be nice to see if they had a plan for that. Also, qualified immunity.
Prevailing wage.
They ain't talking about shit I'm super interested in. Fucking boring.
I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look at
that whiplash.
All falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that.
Ew! What the Okay, so I'm not going to say whether he's right or wrong. He's probably right, but he's saying that as though we need the Amazon rainforest in order to absorb carbon. Don't get me wrong, we need to keep that bitch around, but the biggest carbon absorbers that I'm aware of is moss, algae, things of that nature. Just plant life that takes in carbon to survive, or plant life and bacteria. And yeah, it's a lot of fucking algae that does that for us. I think that's also where we're getting our renewable fuels from too, but don't quote me on that.
I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion and say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says
you could do that?
Balance environmental interests and economic interests.
Yeah.
He's drawn his line.
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem.
Look, I like cow farts, okay? Don't talk shit about cow farts.
To have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now.
Cow farts are the prelude to the shit. I was about to say that or shit, but
New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking.
How the fuck did that number come from?
And rebuild the building.
No,
it's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous.
is not-
Where airplanes are out of business. Where
Trump just pulled the Dr. Evil, where like, if we were to say like 100 billion, oh shit, that's bad. 100 trillion. Huh? You what? That's not a number. That's not, what? 100 trillion? I'm hoping he misspoke, because 100 trillion. All right.
two-car systems are out where they want to take out.
To put that in perspective, our country is $26 trillion in debt. If you have a look at the debt clock anytime soon, give it a look at. What does it mean? I don't know. I thought it meant that our money would lose value, but who the fuck knows anymore?
The cows too, that's not true either, right? This is a 100 trillion.
Look,
that's more money than our country could make in 100 years if we're going
not the case.
All right, let me
destroy our
because I
country.
actually, wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good paying jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
But the government shouldn't be the one providing jobs to people, bruh.
Create millions of good paying jobs. And these taxes
You're not a business.
for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that
That's
at all.
what he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal.
You make up.
He said something close to that. Joe's probably taking him out of context, but I remember some headlines about that. I didn't look into it because
Is clean.
hiatus.
All are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happening just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa.
That always happens in the Midwest.
Because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's.
I mean, again, don't know enough about the topic to deny that, but Midwest has a lot of flat land, and I think the way it works is a lot of flat land, a lot of wind could build up momentum, something happens, tornado. And I don't think it's because of anything recent. Like, only point of reference I have for that, I'm an idiot for saying this, but The Wizard of Oz, like, that movie starts off with a tornado in black and white, so you know it was made a long time ago. Or was it sepia? Can't recall.
Problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is
not
not
20
my
billion.
plan.
What are you getting this number from?
Build every
It's not
building.
my plan.
I want to rebuild
All right,
every
If he knew
you have to-
anything
wait a
about,
minute,
if he knew
gentlemen, he
anything
made a
about,
Oh, rebuild every building.
Said I
I don't think he meant that literally.
He's made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
what
not
he
true.
did is
You're
he
done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
And he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He said
Mr.
stupid.
Why is it that Trump's the only source of this info?
Say that.
play it.
Stop.
Play
Well, for me anyway.
Mr.
You're on
Vice
tape.
President answered
Ooh.
his final question.
He's on tape.
Question is,
Post that shit to your website, Bill.
ranting.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your
the Green
environmental
New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are.
But will it,
polluting
though?
plants.
But do you
We're gonna
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I
Support
build
the Green New Deal?
as we move forward. We're not going to build plants.
Hold on.
Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward.
Yeah.
Build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
But do you
We're gonna
support the
build
Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't?
Huh? America. How did we get here? Fucking seriously.
Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
Biden-
lost the radical left.
I support
you
the
don't.
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen. Final segment. Election
Thank God.
integrity is
Thank.
tonight.
Woo! We did it. Last segment. Almost there. Final stretch.
Millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5
Oh, this is gonna be
This
interesting.
will not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner?
Oh shit! I didn't even consider that. What I'm used to seeing is like election night. You know who's president, but this might be the first election of my life, minus the one in 2000, where I have no clue who's going to be the president. We're not going to know who's president until like a few weeks after, a few days after. Shit! 2020 is a trip.
Of this election, in this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated.
And this was before Trump too.
Said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and their polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine.
I actually agree with that last sentence 100%.
Determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote.
Let's repeat it. He's trying to scare people out of voting via mail-in. Like, I don't know why, but it seems like the right side of the aisle likes to, let me be generous, do more voter filtering than most people. Like here in Florida, the Republicans were on the side of, okay, you guys think ex-cons should be allowed to vote. All right. But not until they paid off everything. Yeah, if you ain't find a job yet, fuck you. So, kind of hate Republicans for that.
If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you. Because
I need to see when early voting starts.
From being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter. Because if we get the votes,
yeah, it really doesn't matter.
He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand.
Just like, it's a weird year to like try and delegitimize mail-in voting.
Like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were...
He has yet to provide any evidence that the Obama administration was spying on him specifically. If you want to believe that they were because they were spying on someone in his tower, if you want to believe they were spying on him specifically, I mean, that's all you can do, but he's not going to produce facts. And chances are, if you believe, you won't either.
Disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them.
A little late, but kudos to the both of them for wearing striped ties. I'm used to seeing these presidential candidates just wear, single colored ties, especially like what Joe's wearing. Unexpected. Very, very unexpected combo up here. But I'm tired of seeing the same characters at these debates. Holy shit.
And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense, and President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too, so don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over.
Oh, I think something like this happened in one of the seasons of House of Cards. But that's supposed to be fiction.
Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that,
sir,
all run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All run by Democrats. It's
President Trump,
it's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to...
Yikes, dude. Holy shit.
Months and mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud.
But why is it rigged now?
In the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that
Wallace, I like you.
year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out.
And you know what's fucking terrible about this? This dude, at least from where I'm standing, he seems centrist as fuck. Like, he's responding to Trump more, but Trump is giving him reason to respond more, which I'm sure people will look at Wallace's performance tonight and label him a radical leftist because Trump doesn't know how to keep his fucking mouth shut. But again, that's just a theory. Have nothing to go on to prove that, or hypothesis. Who knows?
What are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so, because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what
They
are you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
There
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now.
do
What
is
are
you go
gonna
and
do?
vote.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Solicited ballot,
No,
and that's okay,
I know
or
your
you go and
complaint.
vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go
have
and
received-
vote. You go and
No,
vote,
but what I'm saying is, what are
like
you
they
gonna do
used
about
to
the
in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of people-
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it
Let
back, and you're sending.
the man
They have mailmen
ask
with lots
the
of them. Did you
fucking
see what's going on?
question.
Take a look at West Virginia, mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being.
Just let the man.
This is a horrible thing for our country.
There is
this is not.
there is no
This is
evidence
not
of
going to
that.
end well.
There is
Okay.
no
This
evidence
is.
of that.
I'm not looking it up either.
5 states
fact,
have had
I'm not looking that shit up.
for the last decade or more, 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
You're
what the
wrong.
outcome
You're
is.
wrong.
No, I want to continue with you on
I
this,
love
Vice
counting
President
the vote.
Biden.
Chris,
because
he's so wrong when he makes
in
a
fact,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me, Vice President Biden. The biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud. Historically, it has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court, with a Justice Barrett,
I'm sorry, what did Trump say?
I'm concerned.
I'm sorry to do this to y'all.
concerned that the Supreme Court, with a Justice, or they missed the deadline? So the question I
He just muttered under his breath, that must be fraud. What Wallace is saying, if I'm hearing him correctly, is people were tasked with filling out a ballot correctly, and they might have missed a few things. So, boom, that ballot doesn't count anymore. I can see that being used for fraudulent reasons, but from the sound of it, it just seems like people didn't check every box, so they kind of invalidated their own ballot.
have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court, with a Justice Barrett, will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that you should be able to. If in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, when you have 80 million ballots,
I have a final
Senate
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already
All
there's
right.
been
So now,
fraud.
mail service delivers
gentlemen,
185
final
million
question
pieces of
is,
mail a day.
in 8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking. In 8
it's a
states,
disgrace.
election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because
I mean, we're arguing about some weird shit.
that we are not going to know on Election Day.
And this being the last topic, I don't know. I think they got more debates coming up.
The new president. So first for you, sir.
Hopefully they'll mention something that I'm interested in. And during the next debate, I'll try to come up with something interesting. I think I'm gonna do a bingo, drinking bingo. Every time they say something,
That you will not declare
I'll take a shot.
the election has been independently certified. President Trump, you
I'm
go
urging
first.
my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know,
To watch, you're urging your supporters to be Karens.
watch. They're called poll watchers. A very safe, very nice thing. They were
Are they?
thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? 'Cause
Well then, I'm sorry, poll watchers. I'm not fact checking anything tonight, so take that with a grain of salt. I think there's some like racial history behind that, but don't quote me on that. I gotta look that shit up later, or not.
bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad things. And I am
Again, the dog whistling. Gotta be careful, man, because the shit he's saying can be misconstrued very negatively, or worst case scenario, very accurately.
I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you
what
what,
does that
from
mean,
a
not go
common
along?
sense,
Does that mean
I'll
you're
tell
gonna
you
tell
what
your
it means.
people to take to the
It means you
street?
have a fraudulent election. You're
And what
sending
are you
out
gonna do-
80
and
million
what will you
ballots.
do about that?
They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one,
He can't answer that.
they cheat.
He can't answer that.
Hey, they found
What you gonna do about it, President?
the basket 3 days ago, and
Nah,
they all had
I'm not gonna answer that.
ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest.
It's like so weird that 2020 is the year where shit became,
Mail-in ballots.
where mail-in ballots were like a topic of contention. I know the Bush administration researched it at one point, and even they were like,
President Biden,
shit,
He has no idea what he's talking about.
this isn't as big of a deal as we thought it was.
Accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because
I pay too much fucking attention to U.S. politics. Holy shit, Keon.
votes are counted. That'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans.
They all say that.
Honest
okay,
ballot count.
gentlemen, you say that's the end of it. This is the end.
Also,
of the debate.
just pointed this out. Hi,
There
libertarian. That doesn't sound like good news for me.
more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank
Oh, 3 debates. Shit.
and the Cleveland
Shit.
Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate,
Shit.
by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be one.
Okay, fuck off. So it's kind of weird to me that even after seeing that, there are people in this country giving other people shit because they're going to vote third party. This is weird. This is very weird. Because after witnessing that, I don't know. I feel like you gotta do a lot of mental gymnastics to convince yourself that Donald Trump is a better candidate than Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace carried himself out there with a lot of dignity and a lot of stoicism. He didn't back down, but he was, respectable when necessary. So yeah, Chris Wallace for president. God damn. That was a clusterfuck, but everybody figured it would be. Trump had a few jabs. The man knows how to hit people where it hurts. And again, if this wasn't a debate for president, I probably would go with Trump. But since we still have this idea of what president is and what a president is supposed to be and how a president is supposed to carry themselves, they both just failed miserably in that regard. Biden seemed a bit more presidential. Whatever the fuck that means anymore. But again, seeming presidential isn't a good reason alone to vote for someone. So I'm going to take this final opportunity for you to petition you to do some self-educating. Look into the mail-in ballot process. Look into some of the shit they glossed over tonight. Proud Boys, climate change and the effect of it on forest fires. And look into skeptical research too, because in the scientific world, scientists, fun fact, are a lot better at interpreting science than most people are. Like if you were to give me a scientific document detailing something very specific about global warming, like the amount of ice in the tundra in Antarctica, I'd be like, yeah, these are definitely words. But if you were to give it to someone more knowledgeable on the subject, they might have a different takeaway. That's why, big part of science is peer review and being able to replicate the study that was done, or at least the setup of the study. So I don't know. I ain't gonna lie, shit wasn't as depressing as I thought it was. I'm not sure if it was because my expectations are already low, or because they didn't really say anything offensive, or it was just kind of par for the course at this point. A lot of mudslinging though. Definitely interested in seeing how further how future debates look like, cause god damn, if given the opportunity, I can actually see Donald Trump just walking up to everybody and be like, this is my mic, y'all shut the fuck up, it's my turn to talk. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And because I didn't play it in the beginning, it seems like right now is a good time to play It's Time for the Percolator. It's usually my intro song, but seems like y'all deserve an outro. So take care. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm just gonna download this shit and slap it onto YouTube. I'm not editing. That was somewhat torturous. So peace out.